What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we got Geoff of Vicious Rumors. Thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
Oh, man, thanks so much for having me on the show.
Yep, it's awesome to have you here. You have this brand new album, Celebration Decay, that just came out this past August. You just want to talk about like how the making of this record was, like how the songwriting was, the mixing, the recording, all that fun stuff?
Sure. I'll tell you, we came together off of we had a really big tour in 2019. It's actually even started back in 2018. We started off just doing like 20. It was going to be 20 shows of the Digital Dictator 30th anniversary. That was our second record back in '88. And it's kind of revered as kind of a classic album, and there was all this interest about it. So we said, hey, it's the 30th anniversary, let's finally do it. And so the idea was 20 shows, maybe a month, and it blew up to 108 shows in a year and a half. So, yeah, it was awesome. I mean, we had a great time, and it was really fun, and it had another side effect that I wasn't even thinking of at the time, and it was just amazing, really. We have a brand new singer in Nick Courtney and a new guitarist in Gunnar DeGray, although Gunnar's been in the band 3 years now, and Nick too. Nick's been in about 2 years now, but the thing that's different about Celebration Decay is in the past when Vicious Rumors has regrouped, we got together, we wrote songs, and we went in and did the record, and then we went on tour. But this lineup had this incredible benefit of doing 108 shows together, and just getting all the guesswork out of the way, establishing our chemistry, gave time for the new guys to like really understand where we've been, where we're going, and kind of like how they fit into it. And so we just took like all that momentum into the studio with us, and I think it really just it just made for a tight cohesive album. I had been recording riffs since 2017, or pretty much right after our Concussion Protocol album came out in 2016. Mm-hmm. And I probably had like a warehouse. I probably had about like 130 parts and pieces and partial songs. And Juan Ortiaga and I just kind of put this, he was our producer we work with, him and I got together first and kind of picked out ones we thought stood out, and Larry Howe and I, the longtime drummer, and I got together and put an arrangement platform for the band, and then everybody, in the last few records I did 95% of the writing myself, and this time Nick and Gunnar really were able to contribute, and it was just a great process, man. We recorded at Trident Studios in Northern California with Juan Ortiaga. It's where we've done our last 5 albums, and yeah, we worked really well together as a team, and I think I'm just so pleased that we're getting such a great response from the record so far.
Definitely. For you, being that, Vicious Rumors has so many albums out now, I mean, like, do you almost, like, take a new approach to every single album that you make, or is there almost kind of like a formula that kind of you stick with in the creative process, or a usual, like, go-to mode or something?
I kind of do. I try to leave, I definitely have my go-to things. There's no doubt about it. But, I also love the spontaneity of when things can just happen. So I try to leave just my mental capacity open for that. And of course, a lot of times studio magic will just happen through trial and error. The more work you put in, the more you kind of get out of it. But there's no doubt I have kind of some key things that I go to. For one, I know I want to work with Juan Ortiaga on the records as a co-producer and engineer. He just understands metal, and him and I just work together really well on creative level, and all my guys love him. So I know I want to work with him. I know I want to work with Stripe, my artist, who's done all the artwork for us the last 7 albums, and and we have kind of a certain things that we do, but really it's just about everybody being prepared to work really hard. We do really intense projects. Like when we start recording the albums, they're like 10-12 hour days.
Wow.
There's 6-7 days in a row. It's really an intense thing. But the thing that's really great about that is, like, once you lock into that way of thinking, and like you're listening and looking at everything, and like you kind of like get into this like microscope way of thinking, like you're listening to everything so closely, and everybody's working really hard, and I don't know, it's rewarding. It's just rewarding to put that much work into something and then have people enjoy it.
Definitely. It's really cool that you work on a grind, because I have this conversation with artists a lot. Like, I do think there is something to be said when an artist, like, they get stuck, they put it down, they come back to it later. That's fine. Everybody has their own process. But I think there's something to be said, too, when you're on a grind and you go right into it and, like, you really capture a moment and really capture the intensity. I hear that on Celebration Decay. Like, I really feel like the intensity of it. So it's cool that you like really do work on a grind and like you kind of keep the pedal to the metal.
Well said, my friend. Well said. Yeah. I mean, like I couldn't imagine like doing an album at this like sort of like holiday leisure, like, let's work 2-3 hours here, we'll come back in a couple of days. Like, that would drive me absolutely nuts. Like, even if I had a budget to do that, I mean, it's just. Yeah. But I like to get in there, I like to jump in with both feet and just work really hard, and the guys do too. And it's funny too, like on some of the touring we've done, that 108 shows was like, if you looked at the schedule, I was showing my buddy Eric in Testament, I was showing him the schedule, and he was just like shaking his head, just like, what are you guys doing, man? It was just night after night. There was like points where we did, I think there was one stretch we did actually 16 shows in a row.
That's awesome.
Driving and playing, and like, so our we tour kind of the same way, like just really relentlessly when we are doing it, and but hey, Larry and I have been fortunate enough to be rocking in this band for over 40 years, and we got a great bunch of guys with us now, and we're just firing on all cylinders, man. So we just want to live to the fullest, man, while we can still do it.
Absolutely. That's the best way of putting it. And like, I got to ask this too, because Vicious Rumors has so many albums out now. So when you're playing live, do you almost find it like harder with each album to put a set list together? Because I'm sure there's, you always have like the diehard fans who want to hear, Soldiers of the Night, or, the self-titled album. But then, have people who maybe want to hear like Cyberchrist or Sadistic Symphony. Like, how do you almost put a set list together? Do you try to hit at least one song from every album or something like that?
Man, it doesn't get any easier with each album. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of periods where, I couldn't even do a song from each album and like fit that in an hour. Like it's like 13 studio albums, and so yeah. Man, it's a good question. We basically, we have a kind of a classic set list that is kind of a win every time we do it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a go-to. Like, if we play these 8 songs, like, people just always freak out. But at the same time, like you said, man, with new albums, you want to mix in new material. A lot of times it just kind of depends on the buzz on the record. Like, if the new album is really buzzing and people are talking about it, like this album, this has been like a real high point in our career again. So I can see when we hit the road again, we'll be playing some songs off this album, for sure, on the next tour. Yeah. And we just try to. We try to tailor make the sets to what we think people are going to enjoy the most for the situation that we're in. that makes any sense. Because, like, you know, Vicious Rumors is the kind of band, like, we're melodic enough to tour with Hammerfall, and we're heavy enough to, you know, play with Testament. You know what I mean? But at the same, but to do that, we would probably have different sets for those shows.
Fair enough. It's cool to be able to adjust the set list like that, because that will allow you to get on, like, you know, massive tours. I'm not going to mention names, but if you're a band that's like, you know, only this or only that or only that or only this, there's a little bit of limitation. So I think, you know, for you guys, like, in terms of your sound, in terms of your tours, your set list, I think there's really no limit for you guys.
Thank you, man. Thanks so much. I mean, that's kind of what we've kind of set out to do, and we have. I think that, like, we've never really been considered like a thrash band, but we have elements of that in our music for sure, just growing up in the Bay Area at that time.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I feel that, you know, Vicious Rumors, you know, was one of the pioneers of this sort of power metal thrash mix that we do, you know, in our traditional heavy metal. But we've always, you know, like Larry and I have always loved bands like Zeppelin that could do all these different styles. But when you listen to it, it just sounds like Led Zeppelin. It's like, it's amazing how they do it, you know.
Yeah. And it's also like, you know, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you experiment too much, you're all over the place. If you don't experiment, you're repetitive. So, like, I think in the end, just do whatever the fuck you want, and that's what Vicious Rumors is all about.
That is so true, man. That is so true. And, like, you know, basically, you know, we're all about, you know, some kick-ass heavy metal, and that's what we love the most. That's what we want to do. But we enjoy flavoring it with, you know, different feels and that type of thing, and that's something that Vicious Rumors will always do.
Yeah. Well, you know, you really intrigued me with your whole writing process, how, you know, you're in the studio for 12 hours at a time. But, you know, every artist goes through this at one point. There's always like an artist block, or, you know, you're having a day where just, you know, you feel creative, but you just can't think of any ideas. So, like, how do you get over an artist block or something like that? Or how do you keep that grind going without really losing the momentum?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, you know, when you're in those situations, it's really important to be productive, you know. So if you are coming into an area where you just feel like stuck, I think there's a fine line of pushing to try to finish it, and then realizing when the point to just put it down, you know, put it down and let's go to something else and we'll come back to it. You know what I mean? And a lot of times that's all you need to do. Like, you know, sometimes it's easy, you know, when you have that microscope way of thinking on, it's easy to overthink something. So if you, you know, if you could, but there's always so much to do. I think the best thing is to just, when you reach a critical point, it's okay to not, you know, you put it down for a minute, go do something else, and come back to it. And usually that fixes it.
Definitely. I'm sure that, you know, if one door closes for a temporary period of time, there's another door that's open that you can enter and experiment with that.
Yeah, I would love to say I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never had a studio block.
Well, there's a lot of artists right now who could be listening to this who are just like eating their pillow out of envy.
Well, and then there's also like, they go, that guy is absolutely insane, which after 41 years in a heavy metal band is certifiably possible. But,
well, you have to be insane to be in this industry. I don't care if you're a musician or a roadie or a PR or whatever. You got to be insane to work in this industry.
Yeah, you definitely have to want to do it. You know, it's funny. It's funny that you said that, because I you know, I've come across people that have, you know, spent years growing their hair, or, you know, working on their craft, and, like, you know, wanting to go all out, and then when they really see, like, what it's going to take and the type of sacrifice, the type of time you're away from your family, or, you know, if you get a little success and all of a sudden you're on the road for 5 or 6 months or something, it's not for everybody, man. And some people, you know, work on it for, you know, 10, 15 years and then find that out, you know. So it's a tough road. It's kind of a lonely road sometimes, but I don't know, man. I just find an excitement in it. and I love the adventure. I just think it's fascinating when we work on something in a private room, and then the process of recording it, and then when we go on tour and we're halfway around the world and there's people singing it, and it's I don't know, man, we just had so much fun with all the bands we play with and the people we've met, and we're not the type of band that is hard to meet. You know, we love to talk to people. We're out and about, and we're hanging at the merch booth, meeting people, and we're fans of this. All the guys right now in Vicious Rumors are fans of music and fans of this lifestyle. So that's really cool. Like, I'm with a bunch of lifers right now, and it feels good to be in that company.
Definitely. Being that, you're it seems like there's a similarity in terms of studio and touring, because it is a constant grind for both, and a constant, pedal to the metal sort of thing going on. So, like, is there maybe anything when it comes to playing live, is there maybe a similar energy into playing live as songwriting in a way, or is it almost like two completely separate arts altogether?
Well, I believe that there are similarities, and it's also, of course, a different animal. Like, I think these guys are like me, and that it's we love to play live, because that's just when it's just the power and the all the emphasis on dynamics and aggression, and just like when everything that you worked on, you're done with the microscope now. Now you're taking the microscope off, and you're just reeling in the power and trying to make it as tight as possible and devastating, and give the audience a devastating feeling. So, definitely love to play live and really miss it. I mean, God, it's been so frustrating having this album come out and getting in the top 100 German album charts and the hard music charts and Billboard, and doing all these great reviews and interviews with everyone, and then having to cancel our U.S., European, and Japanese tours. It's just, wow, it hurts, man. But,
it does.
I know everyone's going through it. This is the situation we're in, and but it's just really strange. We really miss everybody, and so touring and playing live is a big part of what Vicious Rumors is all about.
Yeah. But mark my words, when this is over, we will enter the best era of music of all time, I feel.
You know what, bro? I'm with you, man. Hey, 100 years ago, look what happened, right? They had the pandemic, 1918, lasted like 2 years, and then they had one of the most incredible booms in history in the Roaring '20s.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why we can't do that again, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And think about it, and just think about, like, all the times, like, remember when the Paris attacks happened in 2015, and people were terrified to go to shows again, but festivals were still happening, shows picked up again. I think, there's, and on top of that, I mean, us metalheads, we thrive on darkness and we thrive on isolation. I think in the end, this is going to hone a lot of creativity as well.
Yeah, it's incredible to see what all these different artists are doing. Like, a lot of these really interesting quarantine videos with mixes of different people and collaborating. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be, boy, when the floodgates open, there's going to be so many bands on tour. It's going to be, and then also, unfortunately, all this time off is probably going to take out a couple bands too. So I don't know, man. I don't know what to expect, but I'm looking for the best, and I'm wishing everyone the best of health and safety, and just, man, let's get back to kicking some ass.
Definitely. And I have one more question for you, if that's cool. But I am really, I love your style of guitar playing and your solos and your riffs and all that. Do you actually have a theoretical background in what you do? Like, do you know, like, what scale or mode or that you're working off of? Does that come into play at all, or do you tend to improvise?
Yeah, I'm a real self-taught by ear guy. I sort of got my early training from guitar players that just showed me how to, first showed me how to tune the guitar, and then kind of we sat down together with our LPs, and we're like things like that. Like, that's kind of how I learned and developed my ear and stuff, with a little bit of that, of course you have to have some basic music theory in there too. And Gunnar, our young virtuoso, he's more of a really studied, very accomplished music theory. He plays keyboards and guitar, and just an incredible talent. And so yeah, he really brings more of that side to the band, and I just bring that kind of Jimmy Page, like texture layering and little atmospheric kind of thing, and together that's kind of like the classic guitar sound of Vicious Rumors, with the one ultra shredder guy, and then my style, which is more, kind of Hendrixy, Jimmy Page type of style.
I think you have the best of both worlds. I've noticed, like, one thing when I was listening to, especially with Celebration Decay, but I've noticed that, like, at the time when I first discovered you guys, like, I didn't really have much knowledge on the music, but looking at it now, it almost seems like there's a lot of contrast in your guitar playing, because you could tell by listening to it that, like, the guitar, that there's, like, different styles or different backgrounds or different energy translated into the instrument.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's so, I've always wanted to paint pictures in metal with two guitars. And if you listen to a lot of, like, the chord structures that we do throughout Celebration Decay, you can hear how, like, the guitars kind of split apart and are playing, like, if you were to listen to maybe, like, just Gunnar's part by itself, you'd be like, whoa, that's kind of a strange choice for, to go under the rhythm or something. But then when you hear it with my guitar added, then you realize, oh wow, okay, so it's making this whole picture. And we like to do, like, a lot of chordal orchestrations and, of course, guitar harmonies together, and all these shredding solos. Like, I love the guitar, the electric guitar. Even in the mid-90s in our albums, when the guitar solos were almost completely gone, we were putting, like, 3-4 solos in a song, and stuff like that. So we love to celebrate the electric guitar, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a musical myth in history that really needs to, like people say that metal was dead in the 1990s. I disagree with that completely. I mean, think about how many bands blew up in the 1990s that influenced metal to this day.
Absolutely, and it wasn't dead. It was just it was like in for a fight. You know what I mean? I mean, we put out 5 albums. We put out 5 heavy metal albums in the 90s.
Yeah.
So, and that was the stuff. But I mean, also I think that was, like, kind of like the reign of Pantera and stuff. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, Pantera, Rose, Fear Factory, Sepultura, Machine Head, death metal, black metal, a lot of great genres came out of the 90s.
Absolutely. Typo Negative.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely, man.
Definitely.
Metal isn't dead, it just smells funny.
That is the best quote I've ever heard in the interview, and I might have to get that quote tattooed now. So before we go, I wanna thank you so much for your time. I can't even talk now, but obviously, thanks to the certain virus that shall not be named, shows aren't happening at the moment. But we have this new album out. Is there anything that you would like to promote for Vicious Rumors for the time being?
Yeah, first I want to say thank you so much to you for having me on the show and keeping metal going during this strange time. So thank you very much, my friend. And, to the fans out there, so much support for the band, for Vicious Rumors, not just on Celebration Decay, but throughout our long career. And, there's no way we could have done it all this time without you. And so I just want to thank all our fans, old and new. We welcome new fans. We celebrate our old fans. And, man, we miss everyone. And just, like I say, man, just hope that everyone just we wish them the best for health and safety, man. And we can't wait to see everybody on the road. And let's just keep kicking ass.
Definitely. That was the best, that's the best attitude we could have going into this right now. Thank you so much, Geoff. Everybody, we are here with Geoff of Vicious Rumors. Celebration Decay out now. Pick it up while supplies last forever. We'll see you next time on Heavy New York.